Well, I don't really know too much history about this band except that it formed from two bands, LA Guns and Hollywood Rose.
Okay. Yeah, they're all from the gutter, and they formed together, and we're just playing around. We got a gig April 11th at Radio City.
Where's that? Where's Radio City?
Radio City's down in the ghettos of Orange County.
Yeah.
And April the 25th at the Dancing Waters Club down in San Pedro. That's on a Thursday night, I think. And plus, don't forget the Troubadour show this Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's the local show.
Yeah, there's free flyers at Vinyl Fetish.
Okay, well anyway, LA Guns put out a record a few months back on Raz Records. Raz.
Good old Raz.
That was the group before.
The group before.
Okay, so we have Tracii and Izzy and Rob, and there was somebody else.
Axl's out in the lobby. Axl's getting something.
Can't smoke.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what now? Who is in this band, and what do you all do, and what is this tape we're gonna play?
This is Guns N' Roses in this band. It's myself, Izzy Stradlin, guitar, Tracii Guns, guitar, Axl Rose on vocals. Axl and I are from Hollywood Rose originally, and Rob Gardner on drums, and our friend Duff play bass. And this song's called Don't Cry Tonight. It's a song Axl and I we just wrote it a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a sad song, but it's cool. So, everybody don't cry. Grab a Kleenex,
Okay.
So, don't cry.
Yeah, ready.
From the iHeartRadio studios in New York City, come fans of the greatest rock and roll band hailing from Hollywood, California. Dissecting all things Guns N' Roses and anything else distorted. 'Cause you know what the fuck you are! This is Appetite for Distortion. Try it again!
And welcome to the podcast. I just want to let the explosion resonate.
When he screams, you know where the fuck you are. There was nothing, when he did that at MetLife on that first night, he hadn't been screaming where the fuck you are like that that I had seen in a long time.
We didn't go together, John Miller. But
we were in the same zip code.
Well, the same arena.
Yeah.
Yes. It is the AFD show, Appetite for Distortion, episode 50. 50 episodes of talking about fucking Guns N' Roses. Hours of talking about Guns N' Roses. Hours you've been listening, so who's crazier?
We're just scratching the surface. Yeah.
It seems to be that way, really.
We're just getting there.
Which is kind of...
You're just getting there, not
overwhelming. No, this is our podcast.
Okay.
I just happen to be...
I'm your guest host.
In the for this episode, yes, right, yeah. But for overall, I'm just kind of the helm of this. Just trying to put this monstrosity together, as Axl once said about the return of Guns N' Roses. So Brando here with John Miller. If you don't know John Miller, you should. He's been a guest quite a few times, guest host quite a few times. Last time, because I haven't seen you, was with Alan St. Elisa. I forget the number episode.
I don't know, sometime in November maybe.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're all numbered, but Alan, I didn't know him too much. I didn't know about Shire too much, but that's a big part of Izzy, his history.
I think we're going to talk about it pretty soon.
Yeah, we are going to talk about it pretty soon because coming up, thanks to John Miller and thanks to Raz Cue, who may or may not be calling up later. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. We're going to interview today the original member, original drummer, I should say, of Guns N' Roses.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Steven Adler. I would love to talk to Steven Adler at some point, but today we're not talking to Steven Adler. But Steven Adler is the original drummer. No, he's not. He's not. I guess I don't think it's semantics either. And we're gonna talk to Rob Gardner.
Some people would like to say it is semantics.
Well, semantics is also a fun word to say anyway. But we'll see what Rob has to say, and especially with Raz, because the last episode, first we got to thank, and this is all a part of news. Can't lose an opportunity to press a stupid button. So part of the Shotgun News segment of our show is to recap any GNR related news and what happened in the last episode to recap. So speaking with Steve Gorman last episode, first of all, he goes, thank you to him, first of all. And I don't know about you, as things like we're learning, and I'm learning. I know things about Izzy. I know things about Guns N' Roses. We're going to learn more today with Rob Gardner. I learned things about Velvet Revolver from them. Did you know, he was indirectly the first drummer.
I didn't know
about
that.
First drummers, right?
Yeah.
Was Steve Gorman for Velvet Revolver. And we all found out about it, including Steve, through Slash's book. He had no idea. He shared that. He's like, somebody called up to his sports radio show and said, I had no idea you were the first drummer for Velvet Revolver. I had no idea either. So he gets elaborated on it. And, you want to hear it from Steve's mouth, but there was a time, pun intended, I guess, that Slash recruited Steve when Steve moved, after the Black Crowes moved out to L.A., did jam with him several times over the course of a few months, ended up jamming with Duff a few times. And Slash is like, what do you think of our band? He's like, we have a band? And then they reconnected with Matt Sorum, and that became Velvet Revolver. So there was the thought that did happen. So
how did Steve make his exit?
No, it just he just lived his life. You want to hear from him. I don't want to recap too much, but because he tells it well, and it's also a really funny Gilby Clarke story that he's never told before. That he said, and that was kind of also how he kind of connected with Slash at the beginning. It's great. So thank you to Steve, and thank you to those who've already reached out and for the interview and just appreciated it. So thank you for that. And also part of Shotgun News. You're going to be my Robin Quivers for today. So what do you have to share? Because it's our first time speaking since the Alan Niven interview. I know some things have been Izzy related have fallen out since then. So what do you have for me, John Miller?
Things seem to kind of explode with Niven's bit of information. People ran like the wind that we fans could have had the Appetite lineup somewhere in the Midwest at some point, and supposedly, I'll say supposedly, Mr. Stradlin showed up for some sound check and bailed because he was disappointed by something or other. But anyway, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'd like to believe the source.
I do
believe the source.
We all know that he was offered a guest invite, as was Adler and Matt Sorum, and Adler was the only one that took it. But either way, maybe this was the time in which the invite was rejected. I don't know.
I don't know either. As I mentioned last episode, and everyone who listened to the interview with Alan, I gave him an opportunity to clarify or not say anything. So, because I know there's been a lot of talk in my GNR forum on what to believe. Yeah,
it was strange because he before even mentioning it, he said, I have not spoken to Izzy in years.
Sure.
And
right, and I want to clarify that and make sure he said hypothetically with as far as how he thinks Izzy feels, but there is still talk with people close to the current, in the current GNR camp, than Alan and Alan. Friends are friends, and then that's as far as I'm going to go with it. So believe whatever you want to believe. And when I said this to the last episode, if anything, there was contact. There's still hope. That's how I look at it.
Hope that Izzy may step on stage.
Yeah, Sir Kevin last episode, he wants Izzy to be a part of the whole thing, and of course that would be great. But I don't think Izzy wants that. So
no, and I don't think it wouldn't make sense. He's logically, there's never been a slot open for him. The idea that Izzy could step back into the band, what was he's going to play with Slash and Richard? Richard's not going anywhere.
No, not unless Axl or Richard decides that they want to go somewhere.
Right, and I don't even, not even less Axl. I mean, if you look at the other guys that left, those weren't Axl decisions.
Right.
You know, and they wanted to move on, and Richard seems very happy, and I'm glad that guy is a ridiculous guitar player.
Yeah, and I think he's a great, like everyone, I think I want to clarify that. I mean, if you're, and I think I have, if you've been listening to all 50 episodes of the AFD show, I enjoy every single member in their own way. You know, yes, for someone like me who has never seen the original 5, it would be a great experience to see that. But not the original 5, the Appetite 5. That's very appropriate. That's very
the classic lineup.
Considering who our guest is calling up in just a few minutes, yes, the classic 5, the Appetite 5, right. Absolutely.
I mean, you know, it is a huge area of contention. People get very, very upset about what classifies as the original 5, because that terminology just gets tossed around like it's you know, common knowledge, and so many people make mistakes. I mean, I got in arguments with close friends of mine who could say, "Hey, come on, you can't tell me that the Appetite lineup wasn't the original line." I'm like, yes, I can, because they weren't. You know, well, you know, my whole thing is I hold Axl and Izzy was the beginning of it, in which they were, you know, and you know, with Tracii, Ole, and Rob. But
yes, when Raz Cue, who is going to call up later, when he gave us both you first on your rapid fire page to share the first. I don't know if
I've never admitted that that's my page, but
oh, should I not?
No. I'll tell. Yes, I'm the one who runs Rapid Fire.
Okay,
and Rapid Fire 1983.
Yeah, because you should know, if you don't know John Miller from our show, you may know him just from all the Guns N' Roses Facebook sites, because
GNR Truth.
Yeah, you're always out there.
Appetite for Democracy Facebook page.
You may need a dictionary and a thesaurus to respond back, because you're very eloquent.
Well, that's what I use. You know, I'm always looking up words.
Oh man, that actually reminds me. And actually, this is glad, and I think our audience will appreciate it anyway, because the way you respond to and trolls and all that fun stuff, and especially after the Allen interview came out, people are like, "Oh, what to believe? This, that."
Yeah.
So I'm just seeing people on like all the websites that picked up like the Allen interview, like Loudwire or whatever, right. And people just, it's like somebody like, who cares? So I guess the typical,
who cares?
Right. So instead of just like
everybody cares,
right? So someone like you would say, who cares? Like, you know, you would give your response, who cares, and a very well thought out response. And come on, who you're dealing with online people who knows what the source is. They can be, you know, mildly, you know, I was going to use the word retarded, but I guess that's not PC anymore, but I'm handicapped, so I'm going to say it anyway. So I guess I'm okay with it. So I usually respond in all capitals, "Your mom cares about Guns N' Roses."
Which is probably true.
It's just so stupid. And that got more likes than that guy's comment.
Yeah.
Or people, especially, this pisses me off so much, and I know everyone listening, it's going to piss them off too. But that's a misspelling Axl with an E attached to it. But
I really want to know why people do that, because I have friends that do that. And I want to say, why do you add the E?
I don't know. I don't think Rob Gardner ever misspelled Axl. Is that true?
Never. Are you talking to
me? Yes, I am. That was my awkward segue into answering the phone.
What's up, Rob?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great, man. Great to hear from you.
Hey, Rob.
Good. Yeah, and just to reiterate, I never spelled it wrong. And Axl with the E on the end is like, you know, goes on a car.
Right?
Well, yeah.
So I was saying to John to wrap up my thought, and of course, you know, to talk to the star of the show, you know, in Pivot. I responded to this one guy. It's like, Axl. It's not only 3 letters. It's in the article, and he's been famous for fucking decades. What's wrong with you, man? And I'm like writing it just like as a jerk, and it frustrates trolls. Like I don't know. I'm having fun with it anyway.
Right. Or I always think of like Axl Foley.
Yeah.
Right.
What was that movie?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Mr. Ahmed Foley is here to see Axl Foley. Axl.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop. I was going to say Trading Places, but it's the other one.
Oh, Eddie Murphy. You got that right, though.
Eddie Murphy, I got it.
Well, Rob, hello. My name is Brando. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Brandon, nice to meet you, man.
And and then we have to thank you and John. Have you just been texting?
I reached out to him about 7 years ago, and I was down in my family's in Wilson, North Carolina, and I got a voicemail that said, "Hey, John, this is Rob Gardner, the original Guns N' Roses drummer," and I'm like dropping the phone. I'm like, "Oh yes," and then periodically I reached out to him, like when his friend Michael died several years ago. I called you up, and I don't think you had my contact. You're like, "Who is this?" Before I even told you why I was calling.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, and I had talked to him probably a week or two before that. And he called me up, and
I know he was
that shape and this and that, and he was kind of reaching out, and I didn't really. I didn't think much of it. Of course, I didn't think he was going to die.
Yeah, he didn't think so either.
Yeah. But he was going through a rough time, and I thought he was actually kind of coming out on the other end. I thought he was kind of getting it together, with the job. He was getting a new job, and I thought he was pulling through. He's getting through this thing, and next thing I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I usually start off all my interviews either awkward or sad, so I guess this is on par for everything.
You know who we're speaking about?
I do not.
We're talking about Michael Jagos, who is the singer on the LA Guns EP, and then he was the singer for Pyrus.
Correct.
Yes.
And,
okay. Yeah, see, I remember you telling me this off the air, and I just because you're more learned of this era than I am, and I learned a lot more with from Raz Cue, so he helped set this up in addition, Rob. But I know the end result was you saying yes, so thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm. Glad to help you guys out, or be on your show. That's cool.
Well, and of course I want to get. Help you out, or I don't know, help you out. I don't know your situation. That's what we're going to learn today, or just to give you a voice, because there are a lot of fans out there that want to hear from you. When we put it out there that we're going to speak to you today, a lot of excitement. I know it's been a while, of course, since you've been with the band, but people still know who you are and people still care. So it's
my name's still floating around out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Damn right.
Absolutely. Where are you calling from today?
I'm in LA, Hollywood.
Oh, okay. All right. So not too bad. Are you from there? Where are you from initially?
I'm from New York, so
really?
That's where I'm calling. You guys are in New York, right?
All right. Yeah,
that's right. I remember you told me that.
All right. Where in New York?
So I was born in Manhattan there.
Okay.
And then I lived in Long Island when I was
where
really young, up until about 4. I lived in Huntington, Long Island.
That's where I live now.
You're kidding me?
No, I'm not. I live right near St. Anthony's High School in Huntington.
All right, okay. How about that's funny?
Well, look at that. Really fucking
small
world.
Then
Jesus Christ.
and then I moved to Westchester County, like New Rochelle,
sure.
Larchmont, Mamaroneck, that area.
A little bougie, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. That's when I got snobby.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I'm just kidding.
You don't have to kid. Now I know I'm dealing with a New York sense of humor, so it's not, I don't have to use the word hella over and over again and try talking about in and out to try to relate.
Yeah.
So at least we have something.
Totally, dude.
Radical, yeah.
That's rad, man.
Oh yeah. Well, wait, that's our word, right? That's I think
that's pretty radical.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Duff likes radical, and when we had Brain on,
it's rad.
He said rad over and over again, so I don't know if it's like an LA thing, radical.
I guess it could be, yeah. It's weird. I've been here so long, I don't even notice it anymore. I've been here for over 30 years now, so.
All right. Well, well, we have a lot to go through, and we're in your time, so whenever you need to bounce, just let us know, but we'll try to be, as contained and well organized as possible.
All right. Well, nice talking to you guys.
I guess I set myself up for that one.
Just kidding.
How old were you when you moved to LA?
I actually did high school here. Like I finished high school here. That's when I met everyone.
So you met everyone in L.A. finishing high school in L.A.?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I really moved to like in the middle of 9th grade kind of thing.
You know what? This is wait. Before you even get to that, this is like Rob and I are kindred spirits right now because I moved in the middle of 9th grade.
Really, that's funny.
Yeah, from Baldwin, Long Island, to Dix Hills, Long Island. Talk about bougie. DIX, by the way. So sorry, the Huntington connection, the middle of 9th grade connection. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to relate to you more as this conversation continues, but.
All right, we'll see.
We'll see.
So anyway, moved in the middle of 9th grade, and I went to Fairfax in 10th grade, but I finished 9th grade in another school, which is where I met. That's where I met Mike. Mike Jagos.
Okay.
And then when I went to Fairfax, that's when I met Tracii and Slash and Steven and those guys. But me and Tracii played in a band. We decided to put a band together, and then Slash and Steven had a band and kind of rival bands, if you will, I guess. I mean, you know. But so then me and Tracii were looking for a singer, and that's when I suggested Mike. I was like, well, Mike's really good. But here's another funny thing. Mike's brother Dave was a singer, and I think John knows about this, was a singer of this band called Shire, and Izzy played for Shire.
Yes, we interviewed Alan St. Elisa.
Yeah, Alan, okay.
Yeah, a few episodes ago. So it's been very cool that we're getting the infancy stages of GNR from a lot of different people, and finally now, of course, now getting to talk to you.
Yeah, so... but anyway, so that's how that came about. And I introduced Tracii and Mike, and then it just went from there.
Right on. Before we get, because obviously that's the big stuff that everyone wants to know about, meeting them for the first time, first impressions. But I really want to get to know you a little bit more, because there's not much about you out there. Are there any interviews? Because John, didn't you say that you were looking for interviews with Rob? When was the last time you were properly interviewed?
You know, I've done actually kind of quite a few. One of them was a Danish radio interview, and they called me, and I think they were doing something on Oli.
Okay.
From what I remember, and anyway, it was kind of related to that, and then of course just the whole band history type thing and all that, but they asked me a lot of questions about Oli and stuff like that, and then I did another interview, more of like a video film type thing, where they interviewed me, and that was I think that had to do with like LA Guns or like the Gun story, something like that. And I'm not sure whatever came about with that, if it ever
was that a few years ago.
I got to call the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I know. That was a few years ago, wasn't it?
That was a few years.
Yeah.
Yep.
But point being, it seems like there's not a lot, because I guess I didn't have the Danish radio station on that day. But I mean, I guess today, I mean, it doesn't matter, because in today's world, anything can go viral. But there's still not a lot out there. So, I mean, first, I just wanted to get to know you a little bit. When you were before you moved to LA in high school, and you're growing up in either Huntington or Westchester, like what kind of kid were you? Were you, since I want to identify with you more, were you dorky? Were you nerdy?
Yeah, I was a total dork, man. I was,
all right,
with penny loafers and my jeans curled up from the bottom.
Oh wow!
With Argyle socks. I'm just kidding. You know that. But,
you had me. For
anyway, I actually hung out with a pretty cool crowd over there, and I grew up with the Dylans, like Matt Dillon and Kevin Dillon and those guys.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny. They grew up in Mamaroneck, and that's where I grew up, and we were a bunch of tough kids, just on the streets and partying and rock and roll. I mean, it was always getting into mischief, this and that and the other, which is hence the reason I moved, because I was getting in trouble over there, and things were kind of going haywire and stuff. But
that was y'all moved because of your troubles?
Well, no, just me personally. I was, I think my parents at the time had just made a decision. Like, my dad lived here and my mom lived there. So I was living with my mom and my stepfather over there.
Okay.
And my dad and my stepmom moved here in L.A. Back in 72. They moved. And I moved out later in 79. But anyway, it was just time for me to get out of there. So things were getting kind of crazy. The kids were getting wild and getting in trouble. And it was probably better that I got out of there. And so I did. I came to beautiful, sunny California,
Did you make the decision yourself, or your parents were, kind of the twisted sister parents, like, get out of here, rock and roll, it's not a life.
What are you going to amount to?
What do you want to do with your life?
So, yeah. So, I mean, was it your decision to move to L.A.? Did you know what you were moving out there for? Did you want to be in a band? Did you just wanted to be in the lifestyle?
Yeah, when did you start playing drums?
No, so yeah. Well, I guess we have to back up a little bit. So,
Sure.
So in grammar school, I had a buddy of mine who, I think his dad was a drum teacher, like with the marching band affiliated with the school. And I always just thought it was cool. I was like, hey, I want to do that, play drums, and so I learned all the snare drums, like all the rudiments and stuff like that, and I marched, all around New York State and stuff, and did parades, with a marching band and stuff like that, and then probably did that for like 2 or 3 years, and then I wanted to get further into it. I wanted to get a drum set, and my mom is like, if we get you a set, we can't just spend all this money and then you just leave this, you never practice. I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'll practice. So every day after school, I'd, just go downstairs in the basement, and all my friends were out playing and stuff, and I was down there practicing all the time,
Sounds like a classic image.
Yeah, I just stuck to my word and just started getting real good and stuff. And by the time I moved to LA, I was good enough to do a whole band thing and whatever, and so that's what I did. And me and Tracii put together the band, and was
that your first band? I mean, were you in anything before that band with Tracii?
Like high school bands or?
Yeah, no, I used to jam back in New York. I jam with friends and stuff like that, and like I said, just practicing every day and learning cover songs, things like that. Deep Purple, The Who, like all kinds of stuff,
Who were your main influences?
So definitely like Keith Moon, John Bonham, Ginger Baker, Ian Pace. I was kind of more of the old school back then, but Mitch Mitchell, Jimi Hendrix,
Sure.
So yeah, those were definitely my big influences, all the old guys back then. And then, I got into Rush, like the early Rush, like the first couple of albums, I liked, so Neil Peart was a little bit of an influence, but, not so much as the other guys. I think John Bonham was probably one of my biggest, and Keith Moon and those guys. Yeah.
I mean, you really can't go wrong there.
No.
It's like you said, Animal from the Muppets. Although that would have been okay.
Exactly. So anyway, so yeah, where were we?
Well, I guess now are we back in high school?
Back to high school, back
Yeah.
to Fairfax.
We're back in high school. Okay.
Yeah, the Degrassi Junior High of Guns N' Roses. Everyone went to Fairfax. It's just unbelievable.
Everybody. Is that crazy or what?
I mean, were you friends with Chris Webber?
I know Chris Webber. Yep, real well.
We spoke to him as well. Thanks to John. You helped me out with set me up with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All this 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, GNR Bacon, whatever. Unbelievable.
Right.
And the GNR fans, they know. I mean, yes, the average passerby fan will just, hey, Axl / Duff. But when we get deeper, people know. And that's what has amazed me from doing this podcast, 50 episodes into it. So putting it out there, and we'll pepper in questions that we got for you throughout. So unless I'm missing something for high school, I just want to give this credit. This was from Ronan on my GNR forum. So you mentioned that's where you met Tracii. So let's just start there. What was your first impression working or meeting, I guess, Tracii Guns?
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
Okay.
Because when I met him, he was more of like a punk rocker, and his hair was short, and he kind of just a little more punky, like skater kind of punky look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but man, we found out that we're both musicians and stuff. Hey, let's jam sometime, So his dad had a plumbing shop over in Studio City, over by Universal Studios over there, and he had a little room up there. We were able to just bring our stuff up there, and then my dad's house too. My room was like my dad's got a good sized house, and my room was like separate from the house. It was like an old like a butler's quarters or something like that, like a built over the garage. It was really cool actually, but we were able to jam up there too. So between the two places, we'd always just jam after school, and we came up with all these songs, and that's how Pyrus got formed. So
it's awesome.
Pretty cool stuff. And then so we used to play in the quad at Fairfax High School. There was like an outdoor amphitheater in the middle, right in the middle of the school, as outdoors. And we used to let us play there at lunchtime. It was pretty cool.
Wow,
that is pretty cool.
I don't know if I really see that happening these days. I mean, I obviously haven't been in high school for a long time, but it was cool. They were real kickback about it. Like we'd be able to. They'd let us skip the period before lunch so we can go, set up and all that. And then one time we even played at Hollywood High School. They let us go play over there, which was kind of like our rival high school. So we were all over that. We were like, oh, fuck yeah, we're going to go over there and go play, and we had a good crowd over there. So it was cool. It's like, we got a good experience like that, especially in front of all the other kids that are, our age and stuff like that. And just, with the scene, starting to develop, and the Hollywood, music scene and stuff like that really coming out and stuff. So it was fun.
And this is with Michael's already singing at this point? Yeah,
Mike was singing, and I don't even know how. Like, he went to Fairfax kind of briefly, from what I remember, and a lot of it's a blur.
I mean, it's all detailed in Raz's book how he was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, high school's a blur for most of us, and I'm the youngest one here. So what does that say? So I have
right. Well,
I don't know. I have nightmares constantly, so they're very vivid.
Like waking up thinking I'm still in high school. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I do. Well, now I'm depressed thinking about high school.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
But now let's go back to high school. Well, you're a high school at least. What kind of stuff did you and Tracii play or work on? Because you said the scene was developing, and you guys were became friends. You were new to the area. Like, what did you bond on? What was the writing process? What did you put into the lyrics? What was the message of the infancy of that band?
Yeah, I think like Tracii's style was really unique from back then. I mean, I've talked to, we had a close group of friends that would always come to our rehearsals or whatever, or, obviously shows and things like that, and just knew us really well. And man, like Tracii, man, he just plays so differently. It's just weird. He just had he had his own thing going on. It was just different, like his own thumbprint. And so, yeah, it was more, a little more, definitely more hard rock, with a hard edge, and a little bit of punk in there because of his punk style, and not everything was super fast. It wasn't like thrash fast or anything like that, but definitely energy, man, just a lot of energy and riffy, stuff like that. And and then as far as the lyrics and all that, neither of us were lyricists, me or Tracii, so we would just name our songs. We just come up with like, oddball name for that song, so we'd know what song, we were talking about, so we just make up these random names for these things. But when Mike came in, he started actually writing some lyrics, and he was a pretty good lyricist, him and his brother Dave, they were really known for their lyrical abilities, the lyrical content was really is pretty deep, pretty good stuff. So, and then just and they both had good voices and stuff. So, I'm just saying, Mike being influenced, I think, from his brother. So Dave was a little bit older, like a year or two.
Well,
so yeah, Mike came up with lyrics and stuff like that, and for Pyrus, for that stuff. Yeah.
Now, did these early songs, when they were, I guess, is still developing in high school, did this carry over post high school, or did some songs get tossed away? And I mean, clearly, as band develops.
Yeah, a lot of those songs, I guess, kind of floated away, I guess. Really a bummer, because I remember we used to have all these cassettes back then. We just throw a tape recorder in the room, and some of them actually recorded like really well. And but I don't know where those tapes are, obviously, anymore. I mean, that would be so cool. I always thought about that, and I wonder if Tracii has them here and there. He could, maybe he does.
Maybe.
But I know I lost mine over the years, and they'd probably be all, disintegrated by now. Any kind of cassette tapes,
Maybe. Sometimes these things can be found. Like, I don't know if you know anything about the band Rapid Fire or not, but that was the band that Axl first joined when he landed in LA in '83. Yeah. And anyway, this cassette tape was just floating around in his lawyer's safe that he had for like about 10 years. And he put it on, and he hadn't heard it, and it survived from 1984 or 5, and
wow.
and he put him up as like a new EP. So,
oh, that's pretty cool.
You never know, and that's going to end up being one of the questions that I got for to you. Just like anything recorded from that time, and obviously, we spoke about the infancy with Tracii, but as we continue through your time with LA Guns in the beginning of GNR. So unless I'm, missing something. So you met Tracii first, and then who is next up as far? I guess I would kind of want to go in order as far as who you were introduced to and your first impressions.
Yeah, who played bass before Oli?
So with Pyrus, it was this guy Danny Tull, and then Mike was singing, and there was me and Tracii. So we just kept it a 4-piece, and then. Then the LA Guns thing, we met Raz, and the whole LA Guns thing started coming around, changing the name from Pyrus to LA Guns, and we had gone through a number of bass players, and then when LA Guns was in full swing, I'm racking my brain here for timelines and stuff like that, but pretty much Oli was the bass player for that. For LA Guns, and so he came in, and but Axl was singing. That was a weird transition too, because I used to play drums for Hollywood Rose. Axl and Izzy and Chris Webber, did that whole thing. And
is that you in the video? There's a video, I just watched it today. I've seen it before, but they're playing "Shadow of Your Love." I think they're in like or Anything Goes. They're in like a shop or something. I always heard it was the Webber's family shop, and I always wondered if that was you who's playing drums in the background of that.
I'd have to see it to let you know for sure, but because they had a few drummers too. They had, and which is why I never really joined that band as a member, but I would just fill in because I knew the songs. Mm-hmm. So they say, hey, our drummer's like MIA. It's like, we can't find him or whatever. And would you fill in? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did shows with them, and like that. And so that's how that kind of came into play, how I, got to meet Axl and those. And then, like I said, I had already known Izzy, before that. So
let's start there. I knew
Chris Webber from high school, from Fairfax. So we just all knew each other. It was like a circle of people that we all knew.
Well, I think about the part in Slash's book. You mentioned both bands, how they sort of interchanged players. So that'll kind of make sense. But then my own experience when I met Mike Jagos, he took me to the studio behind his family's home, and I saw the Shire banner still hanging on the wall. It's all, and it's guarded by just junk that's been piled up over the decades. Yep. But then he said, this is where Pyrus rehearsed. This is where Shire rehearsed. So I just imagine, parties in the backyard while the garage opens up and you guys playing there. I don't know if that's even correct or not.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
So did you, because you mentioned before, I want to make sure that we don't go over this. When you first met Izzy.
Yes.
That I want to make sure, because it seems like everyone's impression seems to be he was the coolest guy in the room. So I want to see if that's you, if you feel the same way.
Yeah. Izzy was always real laid back, just cool guy, just into the music and, and the scene and stuff, and always dressed cool and stuff. He's a good player, just consistent, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where you first met him?
The day I met him, I probably in that garage you just were talking about. I imagine. From just trying to remember, but yeah, I think it was probably there at one of their rehearsals.
Okay,
at one of Shire's rehearsals.
Mm-hmm. When you started connecting with Izzy and Tracii, what was your vision as far as where you wanted to go? And did you want to be make this a life for yourself? How seriously were you taking it? At that point, were you you're part of this is just fun, this is part of the scene, or I could possibly make a living like this? So what was your mindset when you're meeting these people, and I guess are you taking it seriously at that time?
Yeah, I think when you're just in it, you kind of just roll with things, and the group of people you're running with, and then sure, having fun playing this and that, and then. You're still in high school, so you're kind of, you have thoughts of becoming a rock star, so to speak, you know what I mean, like that. But, at that time, you're still at the bottom, more or less. You're just rehearsing, you're doing little shows, backyard parties, things like that, and whatever. But I think when I really first started getting a taste of really making it was from LA Guns and after that, because, you start getting a following and people are really, they're you're getting offers here and there, and so you could just feel it starting to take off. And then, that's when I think I started taking it a little more seriously at that point. Yeah.
Who were you becoming closer with at the time when you started meeting these people and the band was somewhat forming with Tracii? And I mean, I don't know too much about Ole. So what was your first impressions of him when you first met him?
Ole was he played with Merciful Fate.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they were a Danish band. But I had heard of them, so before he even joined the band, I already knew who they were. And when I heard he was going to be playing with us, I don't know how exactly. I don't remember exactly how he came in. Tracii must have found him, or I don't know if we put an ad out or what. Maybe I think we probably put an ad. I don't know if he was referred, but I think we probably put an ad, and he might have answered it, and learned who he played with, and then met him and said, oh, he's a cool looking guy, he kind of fits the part. He was older than us.
Okay.
So that was a little bit of a difference. He was older, but that was cool because he was still obviously young enough, but he had the experience behind him, and that's what was the cool thing. And we got in there and played, and he rocked, he rocked it.
I love how you said he had the look and mentioning the Izzy look. Mm-hmm. The first impression when I got these pictures from Raz, the original photo of Guns N' Roses, that you and your afro, there weren't many afros.
That thing is wild.
Oh, I love it. It's very Oscar.
Yeah, it's funny, but when I look at old pictures of Slash, when we were in high school, we both kind of had a little bit of froze going on, a little bit. And that was at the stage where you're just starting to grow. If you have curly hair like me and him do, you have to wait till it really grows out and to get some weight on it to start pulling it down. Instead of growing upwards, it starts growing downwards where you want it, But I
love it.
Kind of fluffy, afro hair,
It's very Mr. Cotter, I like it. I'm sorry.
Good old Gabe Kaplan.
Yes, I was just watching that the other day. I love that show. It's been on the air.
I always like Horseshack.
Yes. I won't say you're Horseshack. You're more of a what's Travolta's character?
Better not.
Yeah, no, you're. I don't know. You're watching. You know what? Since you're so cool, you're more Freddie Boom Boom Washington. That afro.
Right.
Hi there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Go ahead, John.
No, I was curious. Thinking about the bands. Was there a period of time between Pyrus and its evolution into being called LA Guns? You know, when we know Raz brought in Axl. I mean, I assume you would heard Axl perform or and seen him in Hollywood Rose.
Yeah, I played with him. Yeah.
Before joining in the band, like did you meet him?
Yeah.
You played with Hollywood Rose before he started in LA Guns?
Yeah. So I knew them before that and during that time. You know what I'm saying? It's all in that one time frame right in there.
Okay.
And so yeah, I knew of him and played with him and this and that.
What were your
Izzy as well? I never played with Slash, but I played with Izzy and Axl before you know, the LA Guns N' Roses thing.
Well, that's cool to get the timeline. Then, what were your first impressions of a young Axl? Because in those photos, he wasn't as tattooed, so you knew him before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, we always got along, me and Axl, and he was a good, obviously, great front man. I mean, he's just on fire, man. Just the energy and just had that fire going. He's real determined and real focused, you know, too. I mean, he just kind of knew, kind of anything in his way, like, get out of my way. I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. It's real. So he was real focused, and so yeah.
How his departure from the band was documented, you know, from different people always seems a little muddy. Like, I think Tracii had told some story years ago that he and I assume he's talking about Raz, the manager, they had an argument or a fight or something like that, but they were all living together or something. And so, Axl's fired. But then, you talk to Raz and he's like, no, I mean, Axl and I loved each other. It was all, so it's how Axl's time at LA Guns ended. And then it again, then later transitioned into Guns N' Roses has always seemed confusing.
I would have to say Raz would probably be the most accurate detail on that. And Raz and I talked about this kind of recently.
Is this Raz on the phone right now?
Oh, yeah, man.
Raz, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there he is.
What's up, Raz?
Perfect timing, like we planned it. Where we're just in the middle of a conversation, Raz. I mean, you're just interrupting. What is this about?
Oh, I don't know, man. I just, my phone just has its mind of its own, man. I just called you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Just butt dial.
Planned at all.
Just butt dial the AFD show. Yeah, I love it. So actually, this is really well timed because Rob was just telling us about what really went down when Axl left LA Guns. If Tracii's account of it was correct. That John, you were saying.
I feel like I remember he told a story that you and Axl had difficulties or disagreements, and so Axl was fired, and he was living with the both of you, and I know I've read the book and we've talked about it, but even today I can't get it because my impression now is that you and Axl were great friends,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had our moments.
For sure.
Sure.
So, Axl quit. I mean, he just, we got along great, and then, we butt heads, we were like young males with a little testosterone going, and we like to drink, and, so, at least, probably a lot of my friends, if I wasn't in a wheelchair, I would have gotten fist fights with them, but I think I'd be friends with them,
Raz, I've missed you, first of all, and hello, welcome officially for coming on. And just the wheelchair comment. You know how often I say, because if you missed Raz Cue's episode, What the Hell's Wrong With You, of the AFT show, and you haven't read his book, What the Hell's Wrong With You, or books, I should say.
Right.
But the handicapped reference already, because I often say that if I wasn't 6'4", if I was 6'4" and not 5'6" and handicapped, I would get into so many fights. So I'm with you. So thank you, Raz, also for... I thanked you before you came on for helping set up this conversation with Rob, and obviously now, thank you for joining in on the party.
Hey, man, thanks for helping me sell books, man. I like your show, though. It's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That should be a promo if I ever use this to sell. I like your show. It's
well,
great.
Rob... Rob, what were you doing when Axl quit? Was there in between Axl quitting and the formation of Guns N' Roses? What were you doing?
That's what I was saying. Is like Raz's detail of that whole time was probably better than mine. I mean, you know, a lot of it's a blur. You know what I mean? But yeah, we were just moving along. You know, doing our routine, doing our rehearsals, shows, this and that, but the account of exactly what happened. Raz was the manager, so I'm the drummer. I just leave it up to whoever. Who's going to sing for us tomorrow? You know.
Still the same excuses always.
I just let Raz handle those kind of things.
That's funny.
We were always obviously on a daily basis, just around with rehearsals and shows and what have you. And for a timeline detail, it's hard to answer because right. Like, in fact, I had to ask Raz, like, did Mike sing first or did Axl sing first? Really?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Rob got that blended together because Mike was the singer for Pirates, high school band, and basically became LA Guns. So
right.
Mike was gone, So, but it's just all kind of, to Rob, it's just like Tracii, Ole, Mike, and them were in a band, and then Axl sang after that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, I know Raz. Has been really, and we're going to get into more of it. Some things that you're releasing on your website and your upcoming projects. But I forget if I asked you during your episode, and this question lends itself to Rob. Do you have any recordings from that time? Do you have any keepsakes from that time? Posters, perhaps a napkin with the cocktail waitress's number on it from that time, or anything, any memorabilia that you may have from your time with LA Guns?
Any kids?
Raz with the zinger. Thank you.
So Raz, you're gonna talk about anything like that? You're gonna.
I thought that was for you.
Well, it's either.
I have some stuff, and I know Raz has some stuff. So I think eventually it's kind of been kept, in the suitcase in the closet, for years, obviously. So soon to maybe come out and let everyone enjoy. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Soon is
That'd
the
be
word.
cool. I mean,
Yeah, I got a video up on YouTube, Rob. You got to check it out. It's you remember, dude, back when GNR first started, like the first couple weeks before you guys even played the Troubadour show, did that interview on KPFK in the middle of the night?
Yes.
Yeah, so I got to put that up, man. Tracy's mom made a cassette back in the day. Back in 1985, she made a cassette when you guys were on the radio, and I just had it, so digitize it and throw it up there. I know you heard it before.
Yeah, I have it. You actually gave me a copy of it, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Now is this all right? Because you touched this in your book. This includes music. Yeah. Is this the only recording of the original lineup?
I've seen some on the original lineup of Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, pretty sure. Yeah. Unless Mark Canner has something, but he probably just has the Slash stuff.
Yeah, because he didn't mention going to nowhere in his book does he talk about going to the original lineup shows. Unfortunately.
Yeah, he went to the LA Gun shows with Axl singing.
Right.
And then he didn't go. I don't think he went to any of the shows where it was Tracii and Rob.
Maybe he was being loyal to Slash or something.
Or maybe nobody even told him, He worked kind of hard, Like Axl might have invited him, and it might have not been that big of a deal, or
He didn't get the Facebook message in 19.
He might have even just been there, It's just like so. I bet he was probably at least one or two, because I don't think he has any animosity or ever had any animosity towards Tracii. So
I don't think
I've never heard of any.
And John just played that recording for me just a little bit before we hit the air, and it's quite astounding. Just a little bit that I heard, just to have Izzy kind of be the mouthpiece of the band at a certain time, and having these future legends be in front of you, and just the confused jocks of just who is this right now? You know, this band. So I can't wait to listen to the whole thing. And so Raz, I know you have put it up.
Yeah, razcue.com, razcue.com, and then or just look on YouTube and hit that name RAZCUE and it'll come up. Just go to my website. It'll be right there. You can click on my little YouTube link.
And I'm glad when Raz, you gave John and I the permission to share the photos, as I mentioned before, of the early LA Guns days and that first photo of Guns N' Roses. And I tagged Tracii in them. And I know, if you go back and listen to the episode that's starring Raz Cue, your opinion of Tracii is funny. He
colorful.
Yeah, he first took the photo, which includes Rob and young Axl in the back, and he just cropped out everything, it seemed. But however, after all that, he did share.
Someone did it. We don't know.
Or someone did. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. So it was up there. But then after the fact, I saw the big RazCue.com and retweeted us, and it was obviously photos he has either never seen or he hadn't seen in a long time. So if that's coming from somebody in the band, obviously fans.
People shared them from the Rapid Fire page to his page.
Well, I like to feel that I did it because he shared it as soon as I tagged him on Twitter. Who gives a shit? They're Raz's pictures. Anyway.
I did it.
Yeah, these are semantics. It's Raz's pictures. So it's just cool that those are only pictures. The point being, those are only pictures, and now we have an actual radio interview. I can only imagine. That's gonna be the first time. It's gold. We've all heard it.
It's gold for a fan. These are kids. This is when Guns N' Roses were a bunch of kids in a studio like this. This kind of situation, sitting around, trying to be professional, trying to be cool. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing about just one reaction from one picture that people hadn't seen compared to what's up there right now. It's probably blowing up.
Oh my God.
It absolutely is. So it's
Sure, I hadn't seen that one either until you sent it to me. I'm like, whoa! The
best part of that, the picture I like, the part which got cropped out. To Tracii, I kind of thought he did it at first, but sometimes Instagram gives you a crop.
You're right.
It might have been because he posted my other picture with my website on there, so there was. So it might have just been an Instagram crop, but
maybe
Ollie's bass got cropped out of it, man. I love that bass, man. That bass was Ollie to me, so it's cool that. Yeah.
He also remarked on it that it was from 1983. That's not possible, right? I mean, I would guess it's 84.
Summer of 84. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, I was 1.5, so sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Sorry, guys. So unless
and that was that Gardner at the Gardner Studios where there's like the guys are sitting on a couch with the banner behind the LA Guns banner.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that's where that was.
Is that what you called it? The Gardner Studios?
Yeah, I mean, because I think everyone first heard about it in Slash's book, called it the Sunset and Gardner Villas.
Okay.
It's this little like storage facility unit in a parking lot behind Guitar Center.
Okay.
We called it that because that was always where Robbie Gardner was passed out at.
Exactly.
That was quite a easy coincidence.
That's my home you're talking about.
Yeah. Because Rob, you had mentioned to me. I guess my impression as a fan was that place started once the Appetite lineup came together. But then I learned, no, this place is like, Raz, you started that place.
Yeah, well, it was hourly. It was an hourly, but I talked him into doing lockouts.
And then Rob had told me that he lived there as well. I'm like, how does this work out with the timeline,
what's funny about that studio is it didn't have any windows. So, like, I'd go over there like 2 PM, and I'd honk my horn for the people to come out because I'm lazy. I didn't want to get out. And they would come out and the sun would hit them, and just like it would do the best. The look on people's face, they're in like pitch black, and they open the door. It's like, no, it's alive.
I mean,
the vampires are coming out. They're like, oh, they're melt in the sun,
I mean, no plumbing, no air. I mean, it sounds like the absolute most miserable kind of circumstance to live in.
There's an outhouse, like basically, with a toilet and a sink in there, and that's where we took showers. You know what I mean? It was it was basically
4 doors down or something.
I mean, Rob, you lived in Hollywood then. I mean, your family was there. Why did you choose to live was it just more fun to live at the studio?
I don't know if fun is the word, but just being independent at the time. You're trying to just get out there and just make it on your own and do your own thing, and you're in the music scene out there, and so you just got to rough it sometimes.
Yeah. What were you, 19, 20 at the time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was a kid, man.
What were you doing?
We were all kids.
Yeah.
So Axl and Izzy were a little older than us. Raz, by a couple of years, 2-3 years, maybe, something like that.
Yeah, I think 3 and 4, something like that. Yeah.
They're born in 62.
Oh yeah, so 3.
I mean, I think that's what I wanted to ask you guys. What was it? The idea. I mean, I forgot that you were from New York, Rob, but but as guys living in LA, and then you get these guys coming in from Lafayette, Indiana. Mm-hmm. They're like aliens coming into your world, like, I don't know if you've ever been to Lafayette or not, or have any impressions of it, but these kids are coming in from a completely different world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And you're from New York. You're kind of used to the big city, and people kind of trying to backstab you, but no, they're innocent people from the Midwest, and welcome to the jungle. And I don't know, you probably were a little bit more well prepared for that lifestyle. No,
for LA, yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I think though those guys like Axl and Izzy really had definitely a sense of style and knew what they wanted. Came out here and fit right in, man, because I think maybe coming from a place like that, it was more of like, wow, this is the land of opportunities. If you're going to be a rock star, this is a place to be, kind of thing. Whereas from New York, it's just so as if over there. Like, I fucking, like, from New York, I fucking live here, I live there, it doesn't matter, anything. But not that I didn't appreciate it. I mean, because the scene was awesome, like better than New York's scene, at the time, I guess. New York's got a great music scene, but for the time and the time period and what was going on at that time, this was it.
Sure. But back then, was it the kind of thing that you were aware of, like these guys are new to this town, they're from this sort of, this country, Midwestern country little city, and they're coming into our big time Los Angeles world? Were you aware that they're coming from such a different place? Was it?
Yeah. What's funny is that I know one of my other really good friends that I played in a band with for years, my friend Jason. He was from a little town in Wisconsin, like Appleton, Wisconsin. But he knew everything that was going on here in LA, like on the Sunset Strip. I mean, they would get the magazines and see what bands are playing on the set. Like, they knew more of what was going on here than we practically did.
Wow.
It's kind of funny, yeah, because the scene was so hot that it was just well known, and if you were interested in that sort of thing, they just knew a lot about it, what was happening here and stuff. So don't be surprised, just because it's a little small town like Lafayette, Indiana, or something like that they don't know what's going on, which is hence is why they came here in the first place. And they had the style and the drive and all that, and boom, look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm.
In LA, we're just so used to everybody coming from everywhere anyway.
Exactly.
It's just a draw of talent,
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Well, everyone goes there to LA to
be a star.
To be a star, but everyone also just goes to Florida to retire. So just because there's an influx of people from other areas doesn't mean there's going to be a scene.
No, but I meant talented people though. We get a bunch of hot chicks coming out there to want to buy stuff for us.
Do you remember at all those first gigs before LA Guns happened, when you first started playing with Axl, when you were filling in with Hollywood Rose? Do you remember any of those first shows?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they were.
You can tell us about them, of course.
Yeah, no, I just remember the fire, like the energy of that band, and. Yeah, I mean, I just remember coming off stage going, wow, that was, people were digging it, man. There were like, little mosh pits forming and shit, like mini mosh pits. They're like, whoa, you can just tell something's buzzing here, something's going on,
Were you then, and Raz can, of course, help us out with the timeline, when LA Guns was transitioning to, or morphing into whatever you wanted the phrase is, into Guns N' Roses, where were you? Were you, I guess what to say, like, where were you as far as creatively, songwriting wise, like how did that transition come about with your involvement in it? Because we would hear Tracii, Raz told us, so I want to hear you as far as the transition from LA Guns to the beginning of Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, so I think for me, and I think I can speak for Tracii also a little bit. I mean, being the fact that he and I both left the band, obviously, but I think at that point in time, and I think Raz too, I think he can relate to this too, is it's just that we had brought LA Guns up to such a point that and really gained notoriety on the Strip, and we were headlining shows and things like that, and we had really built this thing up to this point with that name and that logo, thanks to Raz, putting the money in and doing all the promoting and the phone calls and this and that and booking shows and what have you, and it just got to this certain point, and to have that change like just overnight was, and this idea came about, well, the Guns N' Roses thing, okay, Hollywood Rose, LA Guns, that was cool and everything, but, LA Guns is no more, really. You know what I mean? It's like, boom, that's going to go away, and we're going to call it this now. So what happens to all that work that you did, to build that name? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then there's other egos coming in and personalities coming into play now, and different, So, it's a big change. It was a big change.
Were you initially not comfortable with it? Because since LA Guns was something and you were... Yeah,
so at first I think I was a little kind of hesitant. I was like, I don't know, this is a cool idea. But at the same time, it was an awesome band. I mean, I just remember, doing the shows and like, wow. So it was the same kind of feeling of like when you finish the show, you're like, wow, there's something here, you know what I mean? But there was a lot of other stuff that was, coming into play as well, at the same time as far as the, I guess the image and the, the mystery surrounding the band and this and that, the things that were going on and stuff were, changing and stuff. But yeah. So,
I never knew you were thinking that. So yeah, what's funny, Rob? Like all these years later, I never knew you had any trepidation about when it first began. Because to me, LA Guns was already over after Mike was out of the band. It was like that was just it. So
yeah, that's true. So, I mean,
it was like logical that a new band started, but I never realized. I didn't see how it all matched together in your head, because you were probably just figuring like, okay, either Mike or Axl was going to come back and we're going to play the next show, and it's going to be LA Guns. So.
Yeah, and I think I just had the whole that whole faith, if you will, like inside you that LA Guns, man, this is it, and you realize things are starting to take off, with that whole LA Guns aura, going on. So, and then to change it, change the name, it's like you're almost like starting at the bottom again. It's weird. I mean, yes and no. I mean, because the people, and what they're capable of. Everyone's got. Yeah,
but it's a branding thing, and that's a lot of what we spoke about with Raz, and of course, other episodes with Guns N' Roses keeping the name during lineup changes, LA Guns keeping the name lineup changes. It's the branding of it, and Raz spending his own money, working his ass off to build up that name, and things changing. It is very cool that you didn't know that after all these years that there was some trepidation, but that totally makes sense though. It's not like you knew Guns N' Roses would be anything, and I mean LA Guns still became something anyway, but that's still fascinating.
Here's a question for Raz, actually.
Okay. So, hey, go ahead.
Was it actually so? Me and Tracii leaving, did one of us left first, or was it kind of at the same time? And I know it was only within a matter of like a week or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think like Tracii. Okay, I say Tracii got fired, but he says different, but whatever. So so then, like, a couple of days later, like, they said, hey, they just assumed that you were going to still be in the band or whatever, and then I think you thought you were out. You and Tracii were just gone. So it's like there was a miscommunication. So like 2 days later, you're like, wait, no, we're done, man.
Yeah.
Wait, so you like quit by accident, or they just assumed because Tracii was gone, you were a package deal with him, and you were already gone? Also gone?
I thought, like me and Tracii were pretty much, they
were a team.
Yeah, we were a team. So I think whether I left first or whether he left first, and then I followed him or he followed me or whatever. But then we never worked again after that. So that was kind of the weird thing.
Crazy,
Kind of like we just kind of threw all that shit up in the air and said, "Fuck," And he, I went on to do something else, and he went on to do, to just put LA Guns back together. And but yeah, at that point, I think we were both just kind of frustrated and with the situation and each other or whatever, and just never worked again together after that.
Peppering in a lot of the questions that we got for you. This is also coming from mygnrforum.com from Derek. Do you remember that first official Guns N' Roses gig under that name, when the name officially changed from LA Guns?
You asking me or Raz? Or?
Well, Rob. I'm asking you, Rob. You're the drummer. Yeah. You're the star of the show.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, can you regale, tell us that tale? Can you take us through? Do you have any, what are your memories? Do you have any, pictures from that day? Again, any souvenirs? Take us through the first Guns N' Roses show. You're the first drummer. I don't know I don't know what it's like being there. You do.
Yeah, I mean, it's, to me, it's when you're in the band rolling in that whole scene. It's just like I said before. I mean, the energy, the reaction of the audience was awesome, and there's definitely something going on. You could feel it. You could feel the buzz going on. So yeah, it was exciting, definitely.
I have a similar question from Jan Hendrik Klamroth. He wants to know
from Germany.
He wants to know your favorite moments from the GNR gigs between March and April '85. I guess it's more specific, just being more specific about the last answer, I guess. I don't know.
A show. I mean, a show is a show, really, right? You just go through your set as a player in the band. You're just kind of going through your set. You have your little set list in front of you or whatever, and you just kind of just go through it. So, it was a long time ago, and to remember like every song in detail, let's say, okay, you do so many gigs at the, hundreds. So to actually, being that long ago to remember one particular show. Yeah. I mean,
hey, Robbie, Robbie, do you remember what you had for lunch back then before the show?
Well, it doesn't have to be that stuff. It could have been like one show.
I think it was All-American Burger right there across from the studio.
Oh, yeah.
That's very funny. Well, there might have been a show where Axl did something crazy.
Grill.
You never know.
That's probably, yeah.
Well, there could have been a show where something crazy happened. Of course, crazy is a loose term. I mean, of course, whatever you would be comfortable sharing or whatever you remember.
I do remember the Axl wearing those the G-string with the chaps, the leather chaps.
See, there you go.
That always looks so uncomfortable.
I mean, it wasn't really exciting for me, but I know. I remember my sister was there. My older sister was there. That's so funny.
You had the worst view.
I remember that.
You had the worst view because he's obviously his ass is to the drums the entire time.
Was that Axl?
I think my cymbals were in the way.
All right.
Was that his idea? Or did he come up with that on his own, or did that? And when did that start happening?
Okay, so I got this one.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, Raz, take it away, because that one.
I actually, we were at this place called the Pleasure Chest, and he was looking for just some chaps or whatever.
Yeah.
And he mentioned, like, hey, I should wear a G-string with this. And me and Trey kind of egged him on. I thought he was joking. And then, he picked out a couple of G-strings and some chaps, and then it was like, man, he actually came out on stage with that stuff. It's like, and I remember Mark Canner didn't want. There's a set of pictures that he took from that LA Gun show.
Yeah.
And Mark Canner, and he gave us copies, and there was only like one picture of Axl's ass. Because he just couldn't
couldn't do it.
Have it that way. Whenever, can you imagine if Canner would have got like 20 of them shots, man? That'd be funny right now, man.
I know. Yeah, the Pleasure Chest was kind of a frequented place back then. It's still there.
A lot of stage closed there, yeah.
Man.
That's too funny.
In terms of the material you guys played as Guns N' Roses, was that besides the songs that were carried on into the Appetite album and beyond, were you guys just playing Hollywood Rose songs and LA Guns songs or anything else, or is that obvious?
There were some. There's a couple of cover songs, and then some Hollywood Rose stuff and some LA Guns stuff, and then some original stuff as well. That newer stuff that like Think About You and stuff that was just coming out. Yeah.
Were you there for the songwriting process? The things that did eventually make it onto Appetite?
Yeah, so as far as the writing process, I never really contributed anything lyrically. I've never been like a poet of any type or any kind of lyricist. But as far as arranging goes, I go, hey, how about let's try this, or let's build it this way, or do it this way. So the arrangement process, I had taken part in. But as far as the actual writing, I fumbled around with guitar, but not enough to really, okay, hey, let's try this, that B chord or a D chord, anything like that. But the arrangement process, yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm curious about the EP, if you call it.
I remember writing "Think About You." I remember that.
Huh.
I clearly remember that at Willie's studio. I remember working on that. Okay, we're going to do this, and I just remember that particular song. And cool.
Any of the new songs that again would be Appetite that you felt was different, or in a, I don't know, I can't think of a better word other than different right now than what you were previously working on with Tracii and LA Guns. That you're like, hey, this is. Just again, these songs are just a different quality than what. So you did feel that, okay?
I did feel that. LA Guns had a different vibe, more of like a heavy metal vibe, definitely.
Yeah, full on metal.
And then it started transitioning into more of a of what it became, and definitely noticeable difference.
Was that because of the different styles of the lead guitarist?
Yeah, I think that had a definite effect on it, but it was just the songwriting in general too was just different. Izzy had a big influence on the songwriting and the vibe and the style, and then obviously Axl and the.
Plus, what your style of drumming too was more metal. You had double bass, and Tracii was more of a metal guy too. So.
Yes.
Steven had double bass for like the first 2 months or whatever when he joined, but then he went to a single kick after that, and that changed the sound like night and day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because double bass was more affiliated with like heavy metal type. Like do like it's more driving.
Yeah. I love that shit, dude.
Raz, I always think about you, like with that kind of style of music, because like when we were living in your apartment over there on Highland, like it would be like 7 a.m. Everyone's like passed out, like hungover, sleeping, snoring, and Raz gets up and just blasts the freaking stereo. How does it go?
Nice.
We can wake everyone up.
That's the way to do it.
Hey, they need it,
And what did you blast? Because that segues into another question from username Stranger in This Town. Did you blast Welcome to the Jungle? If not,
Welcome to the Jungle didn't exist yet.
I know. That was my weird segue into the first time you heard that song. But like, what did you blast?
I thought I was the only one who liked Metallica back then, and they never would make it. I was like, too bad these guys are.
You were blasting Metallica.
These poor dudes.
No, you were blasting Accept.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, Accept. Yeah.
Okay.
And Fast as a Shark.
Yeah, and Man of War.
Man of War, and that's an alarm clock. Jeez.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm curious about the EP, the Collector's Edition #1.
Mm-hmm.
Was that recorded in early '85? That was obviously before
84.
GNR. What's that?
84.
Okay, and I love the songs on them. My favorite song is "Don't Love Me," and I love how it starts out with your drums, Rob. And Mike said there was something particular about the drums you got to use. Did you use your own drums, or was there something in the studio that you got to use? There was like some other artist's drum or something, or I don't know. He's mentioned.
No, they were my drums. They were these big concert style toms, meaning they have just one head instead of two, and so they're concert style, and they were just loud and just like cannons. The guy who recorded that, who was that? Chuck Rosa.
Yep.
And I remember he called that whole EP. He called that my demo tape. It's like, this is Robbie's demo tape. It's like, because it was just, the drums were freaking huge.
They are.
They're like cannons, man. They're great. So yeah, that was fun. And then another quick funny story about that, Raz. I think you'll appreciate that. So I did some work for this one guy, and he was like a producer guy. There was a band called Pablo Cruz back in the 70s. I don't know if you guys remember, or I don't know if Raz, you remember that or not. Pablo Cruz, they had a couple of hit songs. Anyway, the keyboard, the singer and keyboard player bought the studio that we recorded. It was Westlake Studios out in Westlake Village. And he bought that studio, man. It was so funny. So years and years later, obviously, 20 years later, 30 years later, whatever, I go. And I'm working in the studio. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been here before. And sure enough, I'm like, holy shit, man. I recorded the EP here, the LA Guns EP here. It was hilarious. It was so funny. And I told him, he started cracking up. He couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
Funny story.
Yeah, it's funny, man. We started out over there at Hitman Studio, like a little hole in the wall in Fairfax.
Yeah. Yes.
Chuck Rosa brought us basically for the same price. He got a spec deal, and we went to this $1 million studio out in Westlake Village, and you're moving like, what was it, Vinny Apice's drums out of the way to set your drums up, and
right, yeah.
And it's like, man,
I wish.
That's why. Go ahead.
Isn't that where Axl recorded Heartbreak Hotel?
No, that was up on Mulholland near Valley Circle. That was the second place.
Okay,
we went to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I got it in my book. I can't remember the name of the place now.
Yeah, it was off of. It was called Preferred Sound.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
And it was off of. It was Mulholland and like between Topanga and something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, Valley Circle Drive.
I always get excited when Topanga's name is mentioned. I've never been there. I just know it from Boy Meets World. I get excited, and I make it awkward. Speaking of, I guess. Awkward. When we got a lot of the questions for you, Rob, people were afraid to ask about like why you left Guns N' Roses, and they said, is there a way to ask him without, how does he feel about?
I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Hey, this is the Oprah show. You know that you're on.
Hey, don't be scared, man. Just, ask away.
Well, I mean, I we've developed, and I can tell your sense of humor now, so I feel comfortable in this moment. But just to know the respect that the fans had, like, do you think you can ask this? So the fans have respect for you anyway.
I think it's because I personally don't know where you went on afterwards. I don't know.
And I want to know that. And I guess a lot of people are asking, and I get it. And we spoke about it. So Raz is a little, he knows my story a little bit. In addition to, so geeking out about Guns N' Roses. We talk about serious stuff. Raz and I talked about depression, what it's like to be handicapped, and how that revolves around Guns N' Roses. So people were, asking, hey, can you ask Rob Gardner? Does he have any regrets? How does he feel? And, yes, these are natural questions, but there are people who may not want to talk about it. So I just wanted to, just let you know the fans are respectful of your feelings, even though they wanted to know these questions either way.
That's definitely a valid question, and it's the most common question that I get.
Sure. And unless I'm missing something.
Anyone who knows that I played with those guys are like, wow, man, you must just be. Are you bummed? Did you regret it?
Right.
I always get that question, but my thing is that I always you got to keep just a positive outlook on it in the fact that, hey, man, I that was part of my life, part of my history as a just as a musician or whatever. Like, hey, yeah, I got to play with them, and I was part of it, and the whole scene like that. And so yeah, no, I in that aspect, yeah, I don't regret it. I think that over the years and hearing the stories of what went on with that band once they got really big and all that, and what happened to some of the people, there's no regrets there either. Hey,
how much coke?
I'm glad I didn't become a heroin addict or anything like that. I mean, Hey,
Robbie. Yeah. Robbie, if you would have stayed in the band, how much coke do you think you would have been able to do?
That's what I was just saying. I'm glad I didn't become a heroin addict or anything. I'm still alive. I'm here to talk to you guys and tell you the story.
Thankfully. So does that lend itself to why you left? What made it?
Yeah. It does, actually, I think, in part, because there obviously were a lot of drugs and a lot of stuff going around at that time. I think I kind of explained earlier, I think, when we were talking about when Tracii and I had left the band. And for those reasons, I think that was part of it, was the different personalities that started coming into play, from, the transition from LA Guns to Guns N' Roses. I think that was part of it. There's a lot of heavy stuff. Some people have more the skin for it, and some do, and some don't. I think it's just a number of factors. But that led up to it, and some of the stuff I'd rather not talk about.
Whatever you're comfortable with. That's what I tell every person.
So I'm just giving you the outline of really, just the general feeling I had at that time and like that. And like I said, there's just a bunch of stuff going on that I wasn't, agreeing with, I guess you could say, or whatever. And but no, there's no hard feelings or anything like that. I don't really have any, if I see those guys around, I see Slash, hey, what's up? How you doing? I've been to his shows, backstage, this and that, hanging out, stuff like that. It's all good. I don't have any. I haven't seen. I saw Duff. I've seen around here and there, and that's all cool. I haven't seen Axl. I think I saw him bumped into him at the Rainbow or something like that here and there. It's after they started taking off. But other than that, I haven't really seen or talked to him very much. But anyway, no, like I said, no hard feelings or anything like that. And I don't know if they have any about me or whatever. I would hope not. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't see why.
Things are what they are, and time goes on, and obviously.
Yeah, I mean, and you weren't fired. It sounded like you left on your own accord.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that conversation? Who did you speak to about that final decision? Was it Axl? Was it the manager at the time? Who did you say, this isn't for me anymore?
I think I just generally let everyone know at rehearsal.
Okay.
One night, and I was like, what, I'm not doing this anymore, kind of thing. I came to grab my drums or whatever, and yeah. So.
Was this your drums were where were they, at the Gardner studio?
No, I think we were out in the valley at that point.
Okay.
We were out at what was it called? Willpower Studios, Raz?
Yeah, Willpower Studios.
Okay.
Yeah, Willie, our friend Willie, ran the place.
Okay.
Willie Bass.
Willie
Black
Bass.
Sheep.
Yeah.
Black Sheep. Yep.
Willie's not doing too well these days.
No, I was just going to add. I was just going to mention that he's got melanoma, skin cancer, pretty bad. He's struggling really bad right now.
Well,
but he's hanging in there, man.
He really does. That guy's.
Oh yeah. Prayers for Willie there.
He's got extremely positive nature.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to know. Well, we obviously know what GNR has gone on to be and become, but at least I don't know what you've been up to since. And obviously, you're alive. You've been doing things because you've been alive every day since.
Yes.
So after that decision, I'm leaving. Where were you? Where were you? Like, where did you? Am I going to join another band? Am I going to move back to Huntington? What were you? Where was? So you joined another band?
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't moving back to New York for nothing.
No, I was just using that as a flippant example.
Yeah.
But like, where?
Yeah.
What was the plan after Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, so I just went on to do other projects, other band projects, and did fairly well actually. Headlining, strip shows and this and that and the other, and got a spec deal with another band that was real, like kind of like an Aerosmith kind of Faces, Rolling Stones kind of vibe. So I went more back to my roots. More older style. Got more of a GNR kind of style, if you will. More, blues-based rock. Like that. So it's cool. Yeah, I did a bunch of stuff, and then I just I'm not really doing anything now. I'm not doing a band thing right now. I haven't been for a long time. But I still play, and I still jam and stuff like that. It's not like I don't play.
Mm-hmm.
Doing some writing. I'm playing more guitar, some keyboards, and just writing stuff like that. And
hey, Robbie, you still got that same kit, too, that Tama kit that you played on the LA Guns record?
No, I don't have that anymore.
Oh, man. I thought you still... That sucks.
Nope.
What happened? You got tired of it after 30 years? You just said forget it?
Yeah, I ended up selling it, and I got...
what do you got? Yeah, what do you got now?
I got another one. I got another Tama after that one. It was white. It was all white, and I had that for some years. And
is it birch?
Right now I'm playing a Gretsch set.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I love Gretsch.
Yeah, Gretsch is good drums. I love those things.
I love hearing you guys reminisce and catch up. I really do. It's really a nice time capsule.
Yeah, I was out in Vegas not too long ago, huh, Raz?
Yeah, last summer, me and Robbie hung out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we won't ask about Vegas because, we know the rest of that statement.
Exactly.
Did you follow, whether it was just when Appetite came out or, the Chinese Democracy era or now? I mean, do you keep up with the band at all? I mean, yes, sometimes things just, you go into Facebook or Twitter, things are in your face, you're aware of it. But did you find yourself maybe purposely going out of your way to keep tabs? I mean, just to see, hey, these are my friends. Let me see what they're up to, kind of thing. Did you go to any Guns N' Roses shows after you were officially out as well?
Yeah, I went to some, much more early on though. Like, they did. I remember they did the street scene downtown LA, and that's no longer. But they used to close off a section of downtown LA, and it's usually on like a Sunday or whatever, or I don't know if it was a whole weekend thing, Saturday and a Sunday, whatever. But they block off this whole area, and it's called the street scene, and all these bands would play. They had all these different stages, and Chili Peppers played. GNR played, and bunch of cool bands would play. And you can get beer. They had like beer tents, and it's pretty wild, man. Actually.
Yeah, didn't you have like a life-threatening circumstance there, like a riot or something?
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't that big a deal. I got trampled just a little bit though. But...
How do you?
So you were probably at that same show.
Yeah, we. Yeah, the street scene was fun, man. I love that thing.
Sounds like fun.
It does.
Yeah, with bottles.
Yeah, it got a lot of fun. Little righty there near the end.
Yeah.
So if you went to shows, I guess initially after, what about recent years? Because one thing that did stick out to me, especially when we were trying to figure out who was going to be in the Not in This Lifetime tour and who made guest, and of course the conversation when. And this is before I even had the podcast, when GNR was inducted into the Hall of Fame, who would be there. I like what Pearl Jam did. They had every drummer ever. Like they put out that, they said, Eddie Vedder's like, you're all a part of our history.
Like every drummer in the world, how did they get them all up there?
Jesus. Raz, we're both handicapped. I could fight you and not feel bad about it.
Long show.
Every drummer.
Hey, I'm not very handy, and I seldom wear a cap.
This fucking guy. I love it.
But I think that's that idea. I think that's. I don't know what Axl's intentions were, but I feel like he wanted to include, especially the guys in the current lineup at the time of the Hall of Fame. And I assume he would want everybody included. Instead, they wanted to focus just on specific people.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it was really diversified between Axl and Slash, and really, everyone's kind of like an afterthought, really. But I'm now, Adler showed up. Who knows if Izzy's ever going to show up at a sound check again? But you can get creative. I mean, there's still fans, pockets of GNR fans. I mean, I would love to see a Buckethead come on there. But if you came on to play, a song that you collaborated on. I just think that would be a really cool moment for GNR fans. Like, do you think about that at all, or again, this is just I really appreciate the history that I was a part of this band. I don't need to be a part of it going forward, but now it just seems like this band there's a lot of new life in it and history, and it's going forward. And I don't know, it's going forward, and we want to go back a little bit.
Well,
in the history.
That band really has. Gone through a lot of changes, obviously, over the years, starting from when I was doing it. And then if you look from back then to now, if you had a history of all the members that have been in a Guns N' Roses lineup, I mean, yeah, it's long.
It could be like, it's still like kind of like Menudo a little bit. Not really.
Yeah,
Axl's Ricky Martin now.
People who ask me, like, well, you think they're going to ask you? Like, fuck no, they're not going to ask me. You know what I mean? But if they did, if they gave me a phone call and they said, yeah, do you want to do it? I'd say, of course.
Okay.
But I'd be stupid not to. But for sure. But no, I think they were they were really sticking to. As far as the original band, I mean, they definitely had Steven come up or the
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's band from Appetite.
Even the original drummer says the original lineup.
I meant the band from Appetite. As far as the but yeah, Steven coming up there and doing that, I mean, it's definitely exciting for him, and got to play in front of huge crowds. And
I got a question for you, Rob.
A lot of people. I think it was cool for a lot of fans to see Steven do that. Like what you're saying. It's cool for really longtime fans to see Steven play. And it was like that was really what they wanted. They wanted to see the original lineup, like the real or the Appetite lineup. That they wanted to see.
The classic.
Go ahead.
The classic lineup.
But Raz had a question. He's raising his hand.
Robbie, I got a question for you. Go ahead. So you and Steven, you guys went to high school together. You guys ever like jam together, like just drummers dicking around?
Not really. No, I don't remember that really.
But you guys are friendly.
Oh yeah. Me and Steven.
Yeah, everybody likes Steven.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. He's definitely cool. I met his wife. Was it Caroline? I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that creepy to know the name of his wife. Only John Miller's like that.
I don't know.
I don't know. You're rattling off like when people were born and shit. I don't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, we met. Let's see. I met her a couple of times, but anyway, we did. Mark Cantor had the book signing at Guitar Center out in Northridge. I remember that. And so Slash was there, and Steven, and God, everyone was there. Steve Darrow, I think, was there. Chris Weber, like all these people were there. It was cool.
Ron Schneider.
Yeah, I think Steve Darrow's going to be a featured
was
guest.
there.
That's another guy everybody loved, man, was Ronnie.
Dickie Hamilton, all those people were there. Yeah, it was cool.
Man.
So, yeah.
Who do you still keep in touch with nowadays? As far as anyone, obviously Raz, you guys are BFFs forever. But as far as your current life and being able to connect to your past life, who do you still talk to? Or do you still run it? Is he just randomly running into people like you mentioned before, occasionally seeing Slash, out and about? Yeah,
so I went to Slash, definitely. Just not like we talk on the phone or anything like that.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not asking like who you Snapchat with. I'm just saying, who if you ran into each other, and because you know what, I'm thinking, Yes, it would be thinking outside the box if Axl said, you know, the drummer before Steven, the original, whatever he wants to phrase it, when we call you, unless you guys reconnected through a third party, I guess. But if you're still friendly with Steven, he's going on tour with Adler's Appetite. Of course, you're both drummers, so I don't know if a dual drum thing is weird. But you know, but Slash, you know, we learned from Todd Kearns that at some point they do want to do stuff with Miles Kennedy again. And if you guys are still friendly, I mean, fans seem to appreciate that. When it's just an original singer or drummer or guitar or just a guest appearance from somebody, I just think would be a really cool moment. Hey, here's the guy who initially arranged this song that you've been loving, and you may not. So that's the behind the question. That's what who you're maybe connected with, that perhaps in the future we may hear you perform with or see you perform with, if that's even a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I get asked, then absolutely. But like I said, me and Slash never. I don't think we ever even played together. I don't think ever even once. You know, we were just more of acquaintances in different bands.
That's interesting because he talks about it like you two played together. You rehearsed together in his book.
Oh,
maybe he just doesn't remember. Yeah,
I got to read that because I'd like to know if we did.
I mean, because you told me that you didn't, so I'm taking your word over it.
You know, I have an inside info on this. I think Slash sourced his book from Wikipedia.
No.
Hey, our friend Anthony, whoever.
That's a joke.
I know. Our friend Anthony Boza wrote that, and I trust him.
There you go.
But I want to talk quickly about the whole term original, because I don't know if you're aware of this, Rob, but there in the fan GNR fan community, that's a real strong area of contention about who is original and who is not. And a lot of people, this is why I'm glad that we're talking today, is because I want people to hear from you and know more about you and learn about you. Because it's almost like to some fans, to say that Appetite wasn't the original, the Appetite lineup wasn't the original, it's almost a sacrilege. They feel like I'm violating some weird faith of theirs or something. And I try to say, look, Slash and Steven and Duff were not even original members. And I don't even know if you're aware that this kind of thing happens in conversation. I mean, I even got into it with Steven Adler's brother, just writing back and forth. He did not like that I would question that his brother wasn't the original.
Yeah, I guess, are you aware of just the passion of the community, of the Guns N' Roses community? Because obviously very, very passionate.
Yeah, I'm aware of it, definitely. Maybe not as much as from what you guys are saying, but I'm aware of it. I get a lot of friend requests on my Facebook for just and they're all Guns N' Roses fans or LA Guns fans. So yeah, I'm aware of it, and sometimes I get these messages, that come in on Messenger, and they're like, hey, I know you're the original member, blah blah blah. And they ask me questions and stuff like that. So yeah, I know it's out there for sure.
Right on.
But do you feel, I don't know, any kind of sense of any defensive feelings when there are people out there that will fight for these alternative facts that Adler was the original drummer, versus you who clearly were.
I can understand that. Like if it was something was mine, then yeah, I want to be given credit for it. I mean.
Well, yeah. I went. I think I went kind of as far as on Raz mentioned Wikipedia. When I looked at my Wikipedia, I'm like, wait a minute, this is all wrong. And it was wrong because, they were saying that it's just different facts that weren't facts. They were just wrong. So I went in and corrected it. It's been a while, but I should look at it again. Sometimes they change on you, but anyway.
It's off.
Yeah. So, you want to try and just correct things and whatever. And then, like these pictures that Raz is putting up, there's proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah.
That's the original band, you know what I mean? And
plus that whole KPFK interview.
Oh, yes. And
that KPFK stuff, yeah, that kind of puts that whole notion to rest.
Absolutely.
That you weren't the drummer.
And the fact that
I think by you releasing that thing and putting those facts out there, more people will learn and know.
Right.
I think any kind of
the days of Guns and Razes, you know.
Yeah. Anyone who's that much of a fan is going to know these things anyway. I mean, it's out there. It's just, I guess it depends on how big a fan you are and how much you want to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right on.
And then people hear things in passing. Oh, well, this is the original band, and that's what they just run with. That's what they go with. But if they want to really research it and find out the facts, they can.
Exactly. I mean, these are the same people that even say that the lineup that recorded Chinese Democracy and the lineup up until the Not in This Lifetime tour was not the real Guns N' Roses, which is just insane. Because of course it is. It's Guns N' Roses. They just have to. The members change. Like they always have.
Well, that's just trying to figure out what the word real means, I guess.
Well, I mean, that was real means real. I mean, Guns N' Roses is Guns N' Roses. I mean, and you could have...
Yeah, I think we compared it to, or at least I used the analogy of like sports. The Yankees, it's always going to be the Yankees, but the personnel changes, and you might be a fan.
You kind of stepped over the line there a little bit.
Oh, the Yankee, like,
No. Just about the Chinese Democracy and that whole thing,
Yeah,
Axl was like obviously the voice of Guns N' Roses, and he owns the rights and what have you, and it's definitely
you know what though, Robbie,
a version of it, but not the real Guns N' Roses because none of the other members were there except for him on that version of it. You know what I man.
Dizzy Reed.
And that kind of lends itself what LA Guns did when there were two versions. So it was a little.
Oh my God! A million versions of that band.
I'm just curious.
You know what, though?
Go ahead, Raz.
You know what? Like, I remember, like, a couple weeks after Steven joined the band, he said something that applies to all this. He says, Guns N' Roses isn't a band, it's a way of life.
Yeah. Yes.
Sounds like Spicoli.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
A little bit. I don't want to keep you too much longer, Rob and Raz, but I do want this all, I guess, lends itself to what I asked before about if you would accept a call or joining on stage, and now we got into talking to Tracii. Do you still talk to Tracii Guns? And because he seems to be really excited about those pictures that Raz released, so that would be kind of cool if it rekindled something. And if you don't go on stage, with Guns N' Roses, maybe you'll go on stage with LA Guns. That could be cool, or no?
It would be. I haven't talked to Tracii in a long time.
All right.
Not that I don't want to, just haven't. I guess, and I think maybe a little miscommunication here and there, stuff like that. But
that's what I'm here for, to get through the distortion of it. I want people's stories.
That'd be cool to see you and Tracii jam again, man.
I would love that. That would be cool because man, that was just because I think
Rick Mars to play bass.
Oh man, well, Rick Mars, we had a brief. Well, Brando had a brief communication with him.
If you guys want to pick up, because I obviously get help. I wouldn't say obviously get help getting guests. I mean, there are guests that I get myself, and there are ones like John and brings to me, and Raz you bring to me, like today with Rob Gardner. So I was given a message. I won't say from who, but I was given Rick Richards his phone number, and I called it. And I spoke to him, and he agreed to an interview, and I haven't been able to get in touch with him since.
He's like, the guy's a phantom.
And I don't want to be a psycho and call him a million times, so if you guys have any connections to him, please invite him for me, because I spoke to him a couple times on the phone, and I don't know, that happens. Like I said, I haven't spoken to Sebastian Bach per se, but I've spoken to his management who told me yes twice, and nothing happened. So things like that happen. But if you guys are in contact, and you can grease that wheel, that would be great. And if you wanted to come on, Rob, to co-host that episode or a future episode, by all means. Because just like with John, first time he was on the show, he was a guest. Then he's been a co-host. Now Raz, I think this is the first time he's been a co-host. So officially, you're both co-hosts and guests. So next time if you want to come back on, Robin, you're always welcome to. You can be my Robin Quivers.
We're all bad apples, right?
Yes, we're all bad apples. I don't have the sound bites. They figure me. I'm always happy. I'm too engrossed in the conversation. The press buttons.
Do you play the Osmonds when you do that?
That was your joke the first time. The bad apples reference, right? Because that's what you know.
one bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl.
You almost ruined GNR's Bad Apple song for me because you made it a point that it's an Osmond song. So for the first few, next few times I listened to Bad Apples, I would hear fucking Donny Osmond's voice. So thank you, Raz, for ruining it.
That song's great, though.
It's not a bad song. It's just not what I want to think of when I think of Bad Apples. I guess.
Right, I guess.
So Robin, I said I want to say Rob and I made it sound like Robin.
I'm his Robin Quivers today, so.
Yeah. So, Rob, I know you have a public profile, and it's funny because we did ask a question from that guy Jan from Germany, who, bless his heart, he shared Rob Gardner's personal Facebook and like a Guns N' Roses group, and I'm like, I'm sure your heart's in the right place, but I don't know if Rob wants you to share that. It's not like it's a fan page. He's like, he's like, you're
he admired your profile picture very much.
Yeah, he's like, you're probably right. I'm really sorry. He's a young kid. He doesn't know. Sorry, Jan.
I know who he is. I think I friended him or whatever.
He's gonna get a kick out.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, it's great. But is there a
Robbie's pretty.
Is there a
Raz had worse comments than Jan did, I think.
Well, we expect that from Raz nowadays. We do expect it. But is there a place where fans could, maybe it is Facebook, can reach out to you, ask questions, keep up? I know you're not playing the drums like that anymore, but if there is another project, like I want to know like what current projects you do have going on, future that we can keep track of. Anything like that out there?
In that case, I would just promote it probably on my page, and then maybe just put up a website or something like that, and just promote it that way at that point.
Right on. So what is your page? Where can we find you?
Just on Facebook.
Okay.
Rob Gardner.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because Facebook is Facebook. It's some people, I don't know, it's weird. I was able to contact, and nothing's confirmed until it happens, but I contacted Ernie C from Body Count on Facebook, and that worked. But sometimes I have to go through the their management, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So I just want to be respectful to your privacy, Mr. Gardner. So.
And Rob, do you go by Rob?
When you're on Facebook, you're public.
Oh
yeah, I guess so. I guess.
Rob, do you go by Robert, Rob, or Robbie?
What about Bobby? No.
Robbie. Most people call me Robbie, but
Okay.
my Facebook is Rob Gardner because that was, I guess, what I was going by back then.
Because I always hear when Axl introduces you during some jam after some song, he's like, and drums, Mr. Robert Gardner. So.
I know. He's a Robert. But
he's very proper.
So
if I was
there's other Rob Gardners out there on Facebook, and I'm not the. I think there's like a Catholic or a Christian. He's like a Christian music songwriter. So
that's not you.
The other guy.
And he wears like a cowboy hat and stuff. So it's not going to be me.
Any chance of going back to the Afro look?
Yeah. Get some Soul Glow.
Yeah, right. No.
You look like the drummer from Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good reference. I think I said it before Raz came on. He's got a little Epstein in him, a little Gabe Kaplan.
Oh yeah.
I'm jealous. I'm bald now, so I'm just jealous anyway.
I don't use a fro comb anymore. Back then I did.
Oh man.
I mean, I was able to like literally use a fro comb and like just puff my hair out, 'Cause that was the style back in the 80s. You just wanted it was like aqua helmet, like hairspray and fro combs and stuff.
Right on. Right on.
Well, he used to walk around with the little Black Power Afro pick and his hair sticking out of the back.
That's awesome.
Fucking Raz. As I said, first, Raz, you are of course always welcome back to co-host, or when you update us more on your projects. So thank you. But Rob being the center of this episode, Robbie, since we're buddies now, I can't thank you enough for the time and getting to to meet you, and the same invitation to Raz with you to you if you're ever in New York, in your hometown. Please, I would love to have you in studio and meet you and find out more about you. I'm sure you have more stories to tell, and just more stories to tell. Yeah, and I know we've only scratched the surface.
One thing.
What did we? Can
we edit this in? I heard I was told to ask about Del James stories in New York.
Yeah, before in case I'm missing anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a funny story. That's one of the funny stories. Yeah.
All right, good.
I knew Del back in New York in Mamaroneck. That's so funny. and a couple of other friends of mine, Randy and Ed. Ed's passed away since, but we were real good friends over there, and that whole group of people, and they knew the Dylans as well. I was telling you, I grew up with Matt Dillon and Jeff Dillon and all those guys, and we all knew each other, so it's just kind of funny, like they, that we knew each other way back then, and then this whole thing happens, to Guns N' Roses, and so not only Del was involved, but Randy and Ed were involved too, because they had drove out here from New York, and I heard they were here in town. One of my New York friends said, "Yeah, they're out in L.A. Randy and Ed, they're over there." And I was like, "Really?" And then I find out. Sure enough, and then they're living with Wes Arkeen. And they worked with them. It's just so funny, it's just that everyone kind of got interwoven together.
It's nuts.
It was really, really strange. Yeah.
What are the chances? Or just that's just the way it was.
Yeah, because it was a little, it's a kind of a small town in New York. There, not far from the city, only like 45 minutes from the city, something like that.
Sure.
And but yeah, 3,000 miles away, L.A., and then all those same people coming into play again. Kind of funny, yeah.
It's destiny.
Couldn't get rid of them.
It's pretty cool, man.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for asking that, John, before because I know there's a lot of stuff and we can keep him here forever. But since I like to keep this somewhat in real-ish time as we're recording on a Sunday, in a few hours I have to do Keith Sweat's show. So from going from Guns N' Roses original member to Keith Sweat. So I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I know you got to go. I got to go.
Tell Keith I said hi.
I will do that. And maybe that'll be your next collaboration, Keith Sweat and Rob Gardner. That'll be the R&B version of Appetite for Destruction. Maybe that'll happen.
Right.
I'll work on that. But I want this was really cool, and you have that Raz Cue sense of humor. I learned more of it because you're from New York, but it's just easy to talk to you. I know there's a lot more that we can get, good stories. I want to, your philosophies. I want to get to talk more about your thought process of things, but these are just deeper conversations for a possible other time. So thank you, Rob. And Raz, I don't know if you have any parting words. I know you always have something very important to say.
Yeah, fuck off.
I said him.
I knew that was coming.
You did not disappoint.
You set yourself up for that one.
Oh no, I knew what I was doing. I knew you were gonna say something like, "Fucking love you, Raz. You're hilarious." So thank you, Raz Cue.
Yeah, thank both you guys. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Rob Gardner. Thank you, John Miller. And
hey, my pleasure. More thanks to them for being able to do it.
The 50th episode of Appetite for Distortion.
Proud to be here.
Talk to you guys later.
All right,
thanks,
see you, Raz.
Take
okay,
care. Bye.
Rob, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey.
Enjoy your Sunday. Nice meeting you.
Hey, you too, and thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, this is totally awesome.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
That was really cool. I mean, I liked how you introed sort of touching delicately on his departure, and I like how that would make him, because some people it doesn't seem like it really matters, and some people, but I thought it was important.
It is important, and there's a lot of the questions that I got on Facebook and Twitter, and I mean, it was all that same question, but just the manner of it, like, hey, if he can talk about it, and even if he says, oh, he doesn't care, then he does care. So I mean, I feel like there are deeper feelings there, and he kind of alluded to them, but it's hard.
Well, the fact that he doesn't play now, like that,
well, there could be. It's interesting.
I mean, he plays, but he's not in a band.
Right. So I want to know, like, did that passion? I don't want to say the passion died, but did that choice to not make it your career, was that because of something? Was that because of GNR?
Yeah, that's what we didn't ask. What does he do for a living? I'd have no idea.
He made it sound like he didn't do much nowadays. And
surely
we have a million questions. We were on the air with him for 2 hours, so we had to save it and. For next time, and there will be a next time. Thanks to Raz and to you for making this happen. But there's just a lot more to get to, and just the delicacy of it. And I know our listeners appreciate that. I know our guests appreciate that. And the best example of that was with Alan Niven. If I could start asking about Izzy and Axl, and he emailed, he's like, I would have been brief and gone. but that we got into deeper talks about depression and just your thought process and just all of that. I think could apply to Rob, but like just some people may be more open than others. So he was open in some areas, and maybe not in others yet. So we'll see. I think we learned a lot, and it's I don't know. I hope something happens between. I think between him and Guns is maybe far-fetched. I would like to see a Tracii Rob reunion at some point. So we shall see. We shall see. And that's kind of the theme with Guns N' Roses and also with this this podcast.
I mean, now, I mean, like there's nothing. Like what am I going to do this year? Last year I had a whole year lined up of work, traveling and tickets.
Make this the year of your wife, all right? You've been wasting all this time seeing Guns N' Roses. She's still there.
It always is.
I know, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. So let's just use this time, all right? And so instead of the money you would be using to go see Guns N' Roses.
Yes, that's important. Because now I'm in debt.
Yes.
You always ask me, how did I do it? And I did it by going into credit card debt, and now I'm trying to pay it off.
All right. So
I mean, even Art Tavano was always saying, I called him from the forum. Because I went to the final show and I was looking around. I'm like, "Are you here?" Because he and I weren't connecting. And he goes, "No, are you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "No, I couldn't afford it." I'm like, "God."
Well,
neither can I.
No, it is true. I think that's also an interesting aspect of people who surround Guns N' Roses, like you, who spend a lot of money to go all over the country to see them. There are people who go see them all over the world. To see them. So it is very interesting how that happens. The amount of money and those stories of like why did they go see this band has just been
it's a quest.
It is a quest, and we're going to continue our quest here on the AFD show. So this wraps up episode 50. My God.
Thanks for having me.
So as far as the next episode of the AFD show is concerned, when will you see it? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
You've been listening to the Distorted Minds of Appetite for Distortion. Follow the guys on Twitter at the AFD Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/the AFD Show.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.